Yeah, but like had I known that there was like a bipolar support group that I could go to, I probably would have, because like it took a lot of energy for me to do anything because I was still like very embarrassed and like ashamed and stuff. But had I known that I could just go listen to 5 other people talk about their stuff and not have to say anything, like
Exactly.
that would have been I would have done that, and my parents would have taken me.
Yeah.
But I
You didn't know.
I didn't know, and I didn't have the energy to seek it out either.
Yeah, so that maybe that's the change we need to make. Just make all these things like hyper available.
Welcome to season 1 of Send Them to Dino. I'm your host, Dino, and on this podcast, we are talking about 3 things. Real estate, which is what I do. Mental health, which is something I'm passionate about and everybody should know more about. And 3, business, which is something that I personally would love to learn more about. If you know of anyone who is interested in talking about any of these 3 things anytime, just send them my way. And today, I am very excited to announce that I have my very first guest, Celia Zurbyk.
Hello.
Celia is the president of Exclusive Insurance Solutions, and she has been in the insurance industry, for 15 years now. How's that been for you?
Interesting.
Interesting.
It's been up and down. I've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So you do residential and commercial.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But beyond that, you live on an acreage.
Yep.
Right. You have 2 kids, 1 husband.
That's enough.
3. You have you said 2 dogs and 3 cats.
That's right.
Right. And you, in your spare time, you enjoy embroidery, gardening, cooking from scratch.
Yep.
And the Winnipeg music scene.
Totally. I'm totally a grandma in a 30, almost 40 body, and except for the music scene thing. Yeah.
And that's actually the first thing I wanted to ask you about. I personally am not in the Winnipeg music scene at all. Just between work, you kid, family, all that stuff, I really don't get out much. So tell me about the music scene in Winnipeg.
Well, yeah, so I should say my music taste is varied and eclectic.
Okay.
And then my friends are kind of just all siloed, like they really like this kind of music or they really like this kind of music, and I'm just kind of popping in there everywhere. So my husband is extremely introverted, so he doesn't go with me, but I have a concert husband, my friend Kelly Luadnik, who comes with me we like generally buy each other tickets, and then we're super foodie, so we go to a different restaurant before each show.
Okay.
And now my favorite thing is to take my like local friends from my small town and just show them different like just indie off the wall music that they would never like, and like nearly every time they come out they're like, holy crap, like I never would have listened to them, that's amazing. So I just like exploring music. I like a lot of local Winnipeg artists, but mostly like Canadian indie, some folk, but like just lots of different stuff.
So many questions. Wow.
Okay, tell me.
So which small town?
I live technically considered Enola. I think I'm the last house that's considered Enola, but I live like smack dab between Enola and Beausejour.
So you're the border
middle of nowhere.
Border of Enola and Beausejour.
Yeah.
Cool. And what's the so you said you foodie, you go to restaurants first and then shows after. So like what's the last one you did?
Oh man, what's the last one I did? I went to City and Colour with my husband because he likes Dallas Smith. But I wasn't there for City and Colour. I was there for Nathaniel Rateliff, who's like a Louisiana artist. He's just amazing. So much energy, amazing. And before him was Ruby Waters, who is a Canadian artist, and she's kind of more like folky, folk pop, and she was amazing. So I could have left for City and Colour. It was kind of a downer, but yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So why? Now I know you've also owned different businesses in the past as well.
Yeah.
Right. So were you always in insurance as well, or did you start
Always.
with always?
I took a year off of insurance. So my insurance career started in 15 years ago-ish, maybe just under 15 years ago. Hard to remember.
Yeah.
So I was working for the government before that, and I helped develop the Recycle Everywhere and MMSM program.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and so I worked heavily on the Northern Communities program, the Northern Cleanup program, and kind of deploying the blue bins with MMSM. And
so was that when they started?
When they started, yeah.
So you pioneered the blue bins?
Oh, I helped.
Helped, right.
Yeah, because we were like a 3-person department.
Okay, but still, so you were one of the 3.
Yeah.
The blue bins. That's That's crazy.
Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say pioneered. Like I wasn't the brains behind it. I was like the admin behind it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you facilitated.
Yeah,
right?
I was young. It was like, well, before that, I worked in nursing homes. That was my only job that was outside of St. Boniface. That was outside of a francophone job. I was there for 2 years, and then my good friend's daughter Danielle, who I always really looked up to, came and asked me to come work at her brokerage, which at the time was called PMC Desaulniers Insurance. It was a massive pay cut, but as I looked at my career trajectory, I was like, okay, I've been here for 2 years. In 5 years, I'm probably going to be doing the exact same thing. There's like no area to grow. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to take this jump. And I've always super looked up to her. Like, she's who I want to be when I grow up type thing.
Yeah.
And then, so I made the jump. I took like a 50% pay cut. Yeah. And at first, like, I don't know if you guys know, but like when you start insurance, the learning curve is so steep. And I'm used to being the person who knows everything. So I never felt so dumb in my life. Right? Like it's such a steep learning curve. People look down at Autopac. There's actually so much to learn, and like it's ever changing. And then you kind of transition into home insurance and commercial insurance. But it was just such a steep learning curve that I remember the day when I could answer a question on my own. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a eureka moment. You finally feel like, oh, I know what I'm doing. And so from there, I just kind of always moved up. Danielle did become my mentor. We work together to this day on different things. Like I consider her my business mentor, but also like my sister. She's just the greatest person I could have ever ran into. I've been fortunate to have her and then one more affluent business coach. I shouldn't say business coach, like mentor.
Right.
Unofficial mentor. But yeah, so then from there, when she was buying out her partner, Joel, she invited me to partner with her and my other colleague, Tamara. And so we did that. We did a rebrand during COVID to Savant Insurance. We opened a Steinbach office. We did all that. And then we sold to Westland ultimately. And so from there, I kind of decided, Kate, like no one's passionate about insurance. I love business.
Right.
And I love different aspects of business, but it's not like I grew up being like, I want to do insurance when I grow up. You fall into it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody checks that off. Like, yeah, I'm gonna do insurance.
Exactly. Do you even know what insurance is until you have bought something or need to insure something?
Well, and I mean from even from my point of view, like when I'm working with buyers, a lot of people just see insurance as this thing that they have to. Well, I'm talking about home insurance.
Yeah, totally.
In this case,
Yeah.
You know, a lot of buyers just see it as this mandatory hurdle to get a mortgage,
and they don't even know that they need it until the day before they need to get their keys.
Generally, yeah, they don't even think of it, right?
No.
Obviously, that's not what it is. It's very necessary, especially if you're taking every dime you have and putting it into a property.
Totally, and insuring your single for most people their single largest asset they'll ever have in their life, right? Yeah. So then from there, I took about a year off and invested it in some different business opportunities that came my way through like my VIP clients at my brokerage. So at the brokerage, I was in charge. I was the vice president of operations. So I did all the tech rollout. But because I was francophone and there was only me and one more guy, we did a ton of insurance together. He was my right-hand man, Arafat. Shout out to Arafat, he's amazing. And then, and so I handled all the claims because, we're selling you a promise and our time to shine is when something happens and I can really bring value to the situation, right? And then I handled, all the crap jobs fell on me because I could handle them, right? Collections and claims and the francophones and, the opening early and closing late. I would never ask my employees to do anything that I wouldn't do. Right. I took 9 months off. A bunch of business opportunities presented themselves. But the thing that kept coming up was insurance. Everyone was finding me. They don't like working with big corporate to the point where I'm like, why am I reinventing the wheel? I know what I'm good at. And I might not be the most passionate about insurance, though my husband will differ because he's like, you bring insurance into everything.
You seem pretty passionate.
I'm passionate about anything I do, right? I bring enthusiasm to everything I do. That's just how I roll.
So you bring the passion to insurance, not the insurance bringing it to you.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good way to put it.
Yeah.
And so it just organically started happening. And I'm like, you know what? Why am I reinventing the wheel? Let's just do what I know for now. get this thing up and running, hire who I need to hire, put them in the right places, and I still have plenty of time to do all my other things that I'm interested in, right?
Right.
Which I won't speak too much about because I've got some stuff on the go that I don't want to let slip.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, so it's just been super interesting. I hit my annual goals within 4 months.
Nice.
Like it was just...
So if you could go back to when you started
at what point? This brokerage or?
Started first insurance job, period.
Yeah.
What would you do differently?
I don't know that I would do anything differently. Like any hurdle I ever had was a lesson I needed to learn.
Okay.
I think I was really fortunate in having an amazing mentor.
That's so important.
It's so important. And I counsel anyone that I'm like, if you're at a job where you're miserable every day, get out of it. You should fight to learn what you want to learn, but find that person who's really willing to mentor you, or even if they're not, like watch them like a hawk.
Yeah.
Just learn everything you can learn. And before you quit and get up and leave, you got to give it a solid go. You have to try everything to make it succeed. And hopefully someone will invest in you. But there's always going to be a place where someone will invest in you.
And I think being passionate helps, because the mentors are just such a, to me, mentors are a very interesting thing. Usually a mentor will mentor without any kind of reciprocation or any kind of hope of getting something back. Generally, they're these amazing people that will just give you some of their time and expertise and help you. And sometimes there is reciprocation.
Totally.
But I don't think that anytime a mentor-mentee relationship comes together, I don't think the expectation from the mentor is to get a ton back.
No, I think it can be self-serving, where they're like the better armed and ready to handle any situation that this person is, the more I can concentrate on my business or what I'm doing. Like totally, there is always give and take, but yeah, you can't, me as a mentor, I would never go into something like that expecting something in return. Right. But organically it happens.
It can, yeah. Well, especially because if you're mentoring the right type of person, they're going to want to give something back in some way, right?
And like with Danielle and I, at the end of the day, she's so good at business and she's good at ideas and she's good at all those things. And I'm the in the weeds person bringing enthusiasm to getting that job done. Right. And she is too, but her time is better served on working on the business. Right. Where my time was always better served working in the business.
Got it.
And it's just a good symbiotic relationship. It's always worked super well. And I'm just fortunate to have met her in my business life, right? Definitely. And in my personal life. Yeah.
And like the other thing I always found with mentors too is, like you said, you can study, you can read books, you can study people, you can watch people, but I always found the most valuable thing that came from mentors in my life was feedback. It's somebody that being open to it. Yeah, you have to be open to receiving it, of course, but then getting feedback from somebody that actually knows you, understands you, I think that's so valuable. And you can't just go out and get that. No. You can ask a stranger, hey, what do you think of this thing that I did? But they don't know all the thought process that went into it. They don't know how to... They can't help you do it better. No. Right? Well, rarely, but I mean, there's something invaluable about the person who knows you well, especially, I call it my work soulmate. Someone who just knows you inside and out and know how you arrived at that decision and allows you to make the mistake because that's how you're going to learn. Right. But then we'll counsel you on that. Definitely. I've just been so lucky. So have you ever had did you ever hit a point where things got stressful? Where things got really, in your insurance career, did you ever hit a point where you were considering not continuing? No. No? Never, hey? People in insurance, it's an industry that's probably much like real estate. People hop. They're always moving. The grass is always greener. I've always been of the opinion, water your own grass. It's not always greener, right? Yeah. And I never, even at Savant, I didn't know everyone in the insurance industry because I was happy where I was. I was challenged where I was. And I just never entertained going to work somewhere else. You have a couple of good moves in your insurance career and that's it. And people who hop too much, just don't get as far because you're always starting from scratch. Right. You're not reliable or loyal. Yeah. So no, I never got to that spot where I'm just going to be out of insurance until we sold. And then I was like, wow, sky's the limit. Yeah. It's never been about insurance for me.
it's just been about like, am I at a place that's challenging me emotionally, intellectually, in business? Am I feeling fulfilled at the end of the day? And the answer was always yes.
Nice.
So I've been really fortunate. The other thing I will say though is that we always fostered a culture of like family comes first and your life outside of here is super important. So since I had children, like I work a 4-day work week. I always have.
Good.
Like right now I don't, but obviously.
But because you're choosing not to.
Because I'm choosing not to, but my hours aren't what they used to be.
Right.
Like I work when I need to work, but I always like, last week I was volunteering at my daughter's field trip. Like I do as much as I can with my children and I work between my family life. But when I was, in leadership at Savant, like I worked a 4-day work week. I always took Fridays off. I took 2 Fridays a month I would spend on a date day with each of my kids individually, just so I can really build a bond with them.
How old are your kids?
They both just had birthdays, 6 and 8.
6 and 8. Good.
Yeah, and then the other 2 days was like setting up my life, like setting up, because what we eat is really important to me. So I meal prep and I do my garden and I clean my house so that on the weekends I have all the time with my kids. But I worked 4 really long days. I started at 7:30. I'd leave to pick up my kids at 4, and then I'd work again at night.
Right.
Like that's fine by me. And now I do the same thing, just in my hours look completely different because I'm not tied to a desk.
Right.
I don't have walk-up clients, right? And we tried to do as much of that as we could for our employees as well. I shouldn't even say employees; they are our team members. Like we're all pulling in the same direction.
And how many employees do you have, or team members?
Now it's just me. I
Just
need
you,
to
back to just
hire.
you.
Back in the day, we had 2 offices, and I want to say at our highest we were like 16.
So when you go to hire, what are 1 or 2 qualities that are must-haves or the most important or non-negotiables?
Work ethic.
Okay.
I can teach anyone insurance. This is Danielle's line. I can teach anyone insurance, but I can't teach them to be a good human. I can't teach them work ethic. Can't teach them any of that stuff.
Got it.
And so we notoriously didn't hire within the insurance industry for the most part. We found people who worked at Safeway, waitresses. They're single-handedly your best employees. They can multitask. They're quick on their feet. They learn well. People who are personable. Yeah, I'm not looking for an insurance broker. I'm looking for a good human.
Good humans.
Yeah.
Good humans, good work ethic.
Yeah, and loyal people.
And loyal people.
Because if they're leaving to come to you for an extra $1,000 a year, an extra 25 cents an hour, they're leaving for the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. As soon as somebody makes them a promise that may or may not be the same thing.
Again, grass is always greener, people. I'm not necessarily what I'm looking for. Though sometimes you do need butts and seats and you need to fill a position. But I'm of the opinion I'd rather work harder, all pulling in the same direction, than just having someone there to be there. It frustrates the whole thing. It poisons the well.
So you do residential and commercial, about 50-50.
Yep.
Right? I'm getting into more commercial real estate myself, but I do most of my business in residential right now. So that's where most of my clients will be. So what are, you mentioned to me before that you almost prefer when you're the second call.
Not that I prefer, it's that people have existing relationships, right?
Right.
And sometimes those go sour, or sometimes they just don't have an answer to that question, or it becomes like super convoluted, the situation. And I can't ask to always be the first call.
Right.
But I can't ask to be the second call. When you want that second opinion, when you want to just, I'm happy to confirm that where you are is great. I'm happy to confirm that your premium seems high, but it's high because you're getting the coverage you need. I've often done that where I'm like, I would love to take your policy over, but you're great where you are, and I suggest you keep this as long as you can. And when this changes, when this product changes for you, then I'll be your first call.
Right.
But I'm going to shoot you straight. Yeah, I don't need to be the first call for my new clients. For my existing clients, I better be the first call. But I generally don't have like an attrition rate. Once I get a client, they're my client for life.
So let's say somebody buys a house today. Okay, they're insured with XYZ Bank or some other place. When should they review their policy?
At the very least, like my in-house policy, and it's always been this through any brokerage I've been at, is we do a full-on intake the first time, and then I mark your file for every 3 years. But if anything just changes drastically within that, you should always review the policy. So I'm looking for a 10% premium increase or $75, whichever one comes first, and then I'm for sure reviewing it.
Okay.
But then if that hasn't happened, for sure, every 3 years, we should review it.
Got it. So if your policy either got $75 a year more expensive,
Yeah.
or the premium increased by 10%,
Yeah.
or it's been 3 years. So
Exactly.
kind of in the, okay.
Or if you've done like any major renovations, anything like that in between that would trigger you to call me,
Got
I
it.
may as
So-
well review it at the same time.
So something like a basement renovation,
Getting married,
getting married. Okay, yeah.
well, because you're changing names, you're adding someone.
Yeah, yeah.
You got more stuff in the house. You might have an engagement ring to schedule.
Got it. Because you don't just insure the structure, you insure
Right.
contents.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about that. What are some of the items that people would get insurance over and above, like, I don't know if terminology is right, but a standard policy for the house?
So things that it wouldn't stand to reason that everyone has, or things that if the insurance companies didn't put a limit on, everyone would have $1 million of gold bars in the basement.
Yes,
So
of course.
bicycles is a big one that gets stolen a lot.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of markets that don't put limits on bicycles, and when we have people who have super high valued bicycles, then I tend to put them with those policies, even if it's a bit more.
So would those be e-bikes as well?
Depends on the company, so we always have to look. You just kind of have to let me know.
Okay.
And then jewelries and furs. So most policies give you $10,000 and then a sub limit of like $2,500 or $5,000 per item. So that's, you know, if you get one really big piece of jewelry, you might want to schedule that on there and leave the rest to kind of fall under that limit.
Got it. So scheduling is like putting it on.
Putting a rider on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Money on hand.
So like cash?
Yeah, sometimes 300, sometimes 500, sometimes 1,000. Anything more than that, they're a little bit worried about where this money is coming from that's stuffed in your mattress.
Interesting. And I find the money thing interesting because those seem like, I don't think it's unheard of to have $1,000 cash in your house.
It's not very common.
Interesting.
It should be in the bank. Yeah, and how do you prove that you had $1,000 cash in your house?
Right, if it burns.
And if it burns, like they're not just handing out $1,000 checks.
Yeah.
Furs, there's another one. Collections is another one, and garden tractors is another big one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, so the way I'm understanding it is a home insurance policy will have some of these things covered to a certain amount.
So it'll insure all your stuff.
Yeah.
And it's usually for a value of 80% of whatever your home is insured at. Okay, so it'll insure that. And then it says, of this, let's call it $100,000 for sake of argument.
Yeah.
In that $100,000, you can only have so much money, so much jewelry, so many bicycles
Got it.
before, that's all we're paying you for that. And if you have
Got
any
it.
more than that, you need to have a rider on it and the rider requires proof of purchase. So an appraisal, a receipt, your make, model, serial
Got
number.
it. So it's not some rock you found that's $1 million.
No,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. So when you're reviewing a homeowner's policy, an existing homeowner's policy, I'm guessing that you're looking for either things that they're not covered for that they should be, or things that they're maybe overpaying for and
Totally.
having too much coverage. So what are some common things that you find in there?
Most common and easiest way to save money is insurance companies apply appreciation every year onto that home value.
Got it.
And that stands to reason. Like the
Sure,
world's getting
because-
more expensive. These days it's not as common because like inflation far exceeds what inflation they're applying.
Definitely.
But 5 years ago, the first thing I'd look at when the premium goes up, I'm like, okay, I'm going to run a new cost evaluator to tell us what it would cost to build this home, not including the land, if it were to burn today. And usually there I can save a few $100s, right? Because it's overinflated. So I can bring that back down.
Got it.
The other thing is they have $500 deductibles. In my opinion, unless you live in a condo or an apartment, you shouldn't have a $500 deductible because you're saving the premium savings to go up to $1,000 deductible in 2 years. If you don't have a claim, you've paid for it. And you're not making claims for little things. You're making them for catastrophic events, right?
Right.
Insurance is not there for tiny little things. It's
broken,
there. Yeah, it's there for hail, fire, water, those big things, theft, but like major theft. If you save and like you're like, okay, I'm paying my $1,000 deductible. I lose my claims-free discount for 3 years, which is 15%. You're looking at probably somewhere around $2,000 to break even. So yeah, those are the things I'm looking at, getting that deductible bumped up, making sure the home is not overinsured or underinsured. And then I'm looking for things like, okay, do you have any type of water protection in your home? Do you need it? Is your basement finished? Do you live in a, commonly flooding zone? Do you live in River Heights where like we really got to worry about this? I look at coverage packages, just make sure they understand their policy. And of course we are always looking at premium. Like if we can save you premium for the same or better coverage, we should do it.
And I feel like that's what most people are like. Again, insurance is one of those things that most people probably don't think about until they need it, and then they're just wondering, do we have it, and will this be covered, and that kind of thing.
Right.
At the end of the day, they want to pay as little as possible for what they need. I mean, it's
totally,
right?
totally. And like, again, if you win them on premium, you're probably going to lose them on premium. So you have to bring value in like the education component, and you do get what you pay for a lot of the time. There are ways to save money, but we don't want to leave you in a precarious position if you do have a claim and it's not covered.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is save $50 on your policy and then have shell out $10,000 for
backup.
What's that common one? Service line coverage.
Service line coverage. Yeah. So just stuff like that where I'm like, okay, like I will give you my opinion, and if you ask me what you think you should have, like I'll gladly talk you through it. And there are things that I offer everything that's available, but there are things like lower glass deductible that I'm like, I rarely recommend this. Save your $25. You're never going to use it, and if you do, by the time you used it, the amount of times you've paid $25, $40 over and over, you could have bought a new window.
Yeah.
There's things that I say no, and there's other things like service line coverage that I'm like, everyone should have it. It should not even be an option, especially in Winnipeg. So
service line coverage, my understanding is that's the portion of the sewer line, basically, that's going from your house to the
hub, not even just on your property. And it's not just sewer lines, it's any underground lines, data cables, sewer, water, anything like that.
Got it. So if you have like tree roots go in there and mess that stuff up and you don't have this,
you're on the hook. So it's not going to pay for rotor-rooter or anything like that, but it will pay for the damage caused by the tree roots. So the breakage, the requirement for a repair or a replacement of the line.
Right. You got to go digging all that out. You got to put the new line. Yeah.
But what you have to remember is it only goes up to the foundation. It won't cover you underneath the house. There's nothing to cover that.
Yeah.
That unfortunately is yours. But by the time that's happened, like that means that you haven't, router-rooted, you haven't taken care of the trees on the property and the roots. Like there's a lot of steps that could have happened to prevent that. Insurance is not a maintenance policy. That's the cost of being a homeowner. Right.
It's more for accidents, catastrophes.
Totally. Yeah. And like I said, the rule of thumb is sudden and accidental. Things like leaking, rust, things that happen slowly and over time, shingles falling off, or shingles wearing down. That is the cost of being a homeowner, unfortunately.
But what about tenants? Like, should tenants have insurance?
100%. If not, even to cover your stuff, two things that I think are astronomically more important than your stuff are your liability, especially if you're living in a multi-family dwelling. Let's say you left a candle burning and it burns down the whole complex. Yeah, you're worried about your stuff, but you're more worried about being sued for rebuilding that, right? Your liability is important.
Yeah, because if it was your negligence that caused...
Exactly, or water running, or,
I had a situation, actually, now that I think of it. This was about seven or 8 years ago, and I had a single-family house that I was renting out, and the tenant left his kid alone in the bathtub, and the kid left the bathtub running.
Exactly.
And it flooded the whole house. I was okay. It actually turned out not to be such a bad thing for me because I ended up getting half of a brand new house because of flooding. But the unfortunate part was for these tenants, since they didn't have tenants insurance, which I did recommend, by the way, they had to live there through the renovation.
So that's the other important part. So one, what they don't realize is that, yes, your insurance company as a landlord is going to pay to fix that home, but it's going to go sue the party that's responsible, and that's out of your hands. It's not Dino being mean to his tenant.
No.
It's the insurance company trying to recuperate their money.
Right.
That's called subrogation. So that's going to happen, and if they don't have a tenant's policy with liability on it to cover them, they're going to go after them personally.
Right.
They might not have much, but they're going to take the little you do have.
Yeah,
right?
and I don't...
And do you want to go through that court case?
No.
And your insurance company covers you. They'll go to court for you. They'll do all that stuff. Just take the headache out of it. And the second important part is additional living expenses. If you need to be displaced as the result of that claim, there is coverage in your policy for that.
And how much does a tenant's policy generally cost?
Oh, it used to be, I could safely guess, $200 a year.
$200 a year.
It's somewhere between 2 and 4 now. It depends on the amount because it's driven by your contents coverage.
Got it. So $30 a month, give or take?
Like nothing. Yeah, it's so cheap, and you can pay it monthly, and it's a no-brainer. Just get it. It's super easy. It's a 5-minute thing. One signature, you're good.
One signature.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you for your donation to the Mood Disorders Association of Manitoba.
You're welcome.
That was awesome of you. I think they do great work. And for those that don't know, the Mood Disorders Association of Manitoba is a local organization here in Winnipeg. And their mantra, or what they do, is they help people help themselves. So they run all kinds of workshops for everything from depression to bipolar disorder to postpartum and all these different things. And I really like the approach that they take, because I don't think that any one person or organization, frankly, could cure or fix the mental health crisis in our city alone. But they're really empowering people, and I feel like that they make such a huge impact. So again, thank you for donating to them. That's huge. Do you have anybody close to you that's had a bad streak of mental health lately?
Yeah. Oh, not lately, but I'll be straight up. I'm medicated.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I never thought that I would be, and then I just went through a period where I'm like, oh, does it have to be this hard all the time, right?
That's the thing, yes.
And then my brother-in-law, who I would never have assumed would like suffer from anything like that, he just said, like, Celia, the best thing I ever did was get medicated. And like, he's like, it's not that it was like it changed anything about me. I just realized that once it kicked in, like all these situations that I would have found stressful before, because I've never found myself to be a very stressed person, but I'm a very delicate ecosystem in my stomach, and that's where my stress comes, right?
Sure.
He's just like, it just made all these situations that much easier. And so finally I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to try. And it was the best decision I've ever made in my life.
Good.
Yeah. And not that I hope to be on something for the rest of my life, but it just takes the edge off. And like, I just found I was that much less emotional about things that didn't require me to be, just more even keeled.
And that's the thing, like, I don't think any kind of medication is necessarily intended to be a forever thing.
Right.
But if you can get some help to get into a state where you can help yourself.
Totally.
In a way,
and
right?
that's what it felt like, just helping myself. And so I last year I ran out and I was like traveling or something, and I was like, oh, I feel great. I fell into that trap.
Oh no. And then,
like 2 months later, I'm like, I must have been miserable to live with. Yeah. Like I just thought, I look back and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like I should have. Yeah. Anyways, I apologize to my husband. Not that I am nuts, but it's just.
I don't think you're nuts.
No. I'd say I'm a very, I'm a putterer. I'm always doing something, and I just felt like maybe I was just a little manic, too much.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
No quiet mind ever,
That's the thing, and it becomes like I know this really well. It almost becomes like this self-fueling thing. Like it's almost like addicting.
Yeah, to just kind of be go.
Yeah.
That's what it is for me.
Yeah. And then you just go until all of a sudden
crash.
Yeah, you just I call it a decrease in efficiency.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like though. It kind of feels like failure. Like, oh, if I love having all this energy all the time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not like the most productive energy. Like you feel drained, but you just can't relax.
Yeah. And you have you're putting together projects and thinking about things that you want to do, and but I find it's a lot of for me it became a lot of planning and not so much a ton of not a ton of execution, right?
I don't know if that was the case for me, because I always worked on a team, right? So the project needed to get done. I don't know. I just feel happier now. So there's that. It's hard to say. I don't know.
That's good. And I mean, there's medication, but you also seem to live a pretty good lifestyle. I mean, living on an acreage, fresh air, a lot of green probably.
A lot of green.
Growing a lot of your own food.
Most of it, yeah.
Yeah, cooking from scratch.
Love it.
I think all these things, I think if everybody did more of that, I think we'd probably all be better off.
Totally. And we moved on to the acreage 13 years ago or so.
Wow.
And when we were in the city, we always had gardens and canned and did all that stuff. But I'm from Portugal originally, and I try and go back every other year. So when I'm here, I have a ton of stomach problems. We eat so much processed food, not even intentionally. In Portugal, and you're from Croatia, right? It's probably the same thing.
It's from the next village over.
There you go.
All the food, yeah.
Yeah, but as soon as I get off the plane, I feel so much better, right? I'm not eating crap.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where I buy food. If I'm buying food, it's still organic and homegrown.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even in the supermarket, like it's not pasteurized. It's not like it's just fresh.
The milk.
And my body just agrees with it. Where I'm like, it's hard. I can recreate that as much as I want in the summer.
Right.
And it's more in the winter where I'm like, oh, here we go again. Where I'm like, I gotta buy stuff off the shelf. I don't know what I'm eating.
Yep.
Not that like, I wouldn't say I'm like a super hippy dippy person, but I want to feel better.
Well,
you know what I mean?
For sure. And I mean, like it's no secret if you're at Sobeys in December and you see a tomato,
I won't even buy them. Like you can't compare a store-bought tomato to a garden-grown tomato.
Yeah.
Like it's disgusting.
Well, you just have to wonder where it came from, right? Like we a lot of us just choose not to, but we have to think like there's no way that this.
It just can you even stomach a store-bought tomato anymore? I cannot. I won't buy them. Maybe cherry tomatoes because they're still sweet. But apart from that, like no, it's so gross.
It's tough, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the food is important. And then when you look at, I call it the depression diet.
What's that?
Well, that's just whatever. There's pizza,
easy
donut, bag of chips.
For me, that's the city diet because I'm always running around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what am I going to eat today? Like my kids are notorious. They don't get that stuff, like because we live on leftovers. Like so, big supper. That's what you get for lunch. Like we're not like sandwich people unless you're in a pinch. But like they eat that way. But for me, I'm like, oh, okay, so I always make sure everyone else gets lunch, and then I'm on the move. I'm like, I don't have a microwave. What am I going to eat? So I just end up eating like crap. I even look at a donut and I gain 15 pounds. It's not fair. And I could sniff a donut and eat celery and still find the weight.
Get big celery in like the shape of donuts or something.
So gross. Okay, tell me about 86th Apparel.
86th Apparel. So once upon a time, I was 24 years old.
So last year.
Last year. No, this was about 8 years ago. So I was, this is a clothing company that I started. The idea was that, so 86 is it's a term in a few different industries, but in restaurants, when I was working in hospitality at the time, it meant that you were out of something. Yeah, like 86 fries, that means there are no more fries, there are no more fries coming, there are no fries in the freezer.
We're out.
We're out of fries. Anything that comes with fries cannot be had with fries.
Right. Okay? So just you're getting a salad. Sucks to be you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I thought of this idea of make this clothing company and promoting it through events and kind of campaigns and stuff that were 86ing shitty things. 86 cancer, 86 depression, 86 all the negative things we would 86, and this so it's gonna kind of.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a good idea. It was. Maybe not a bad idea.
Was this in your non-execution stage? Where we were just coming up with ideas and plans?
This was kind of the very beginning of it, right? So at the time, I was 24. I was bartending, which I loved because I was working like 30 hours a week and I was doing whatever else I wanted, and I was making more than enough money to do whatever I wanted to do. Yeah. Had a few rental properties, cash flowing, everything was going well. And I was kind of like at the stage where I was like, hey, like I'm good, I'm comfortable, basic expenses are all covered. So I was like planning my next move.
Right.
And I thought, clothing company, why not? And I came up with this idea, and then it just kept it kind of like derailed. Like the thoughts and the planning and everything just started going faster and faster. And I thought, at first I didn't think anything of it because I was like, well...
You thought it was taking off.
I'm taking off, yeah. Of course I feel good. I'm 24, everything's great, no problems. Like I literally did not have a single stress in my life whatsoever. Like everything was just great. And I was in the best shape I was ever in. So I was going to the gym 3 days a week, and I was riding my bike everywhere. And I was eating super healthy. I was making like 20 meals at a time and like doing just
all the right stuff.
All the right stuff, like superfood smoothie in the morning. Like I'm talking like hemp, coconut, MCT oil, like all. So
everything gross. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All the gross stuff. But yeah, everything was great. And then things just started getting like weird. Okay, and I started again just having like ideas and like things in my head just tripping over themselves, and I decided to quit my job on a whim. I just said, fuck this, not doing this anymore. And I was going to do it on my birthday, but I got so impatient that I couldn't even do it on my birthday. I did it 2 days early.
Oh.
And I got to the point where I was sleeping like 2-3 hours a night. And like I still had energy. So I was just like literally riding my bike, running around, talking to myself, scheming all these plots and ideas. And I had a space elevator planned, and I was planning like a multi-city trip with like all these people and going to start a band and figure it out in the air. And
But you're not in the music scene.
No.
I know. It's not scary. I don't mean to make light.
No. Yeah. Looking back at it now, like I should have kept better notes. But yeah, so I did start this company. I didn't really start the company. I don't think I even made it to the company's office with it.
You just started making sweaters.
Yeah. So long story short, it just got to the point where I wasn't really making sense. I was super paranoid. I thought people were after me. So I was like I ran away from my dad twice, and I ended up in the hospital because I was living in an apartment at the time, and my neighbor, one thing down, had the same thing I did. He didn't tell me. He just started hanging out with me, and he was the only person that I felt I could trust.
Yeah.
I didn't know why. He felt like that mysterious character in the movie that you're like kind of like, I don't know if you're a Star Wars fan, but like Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of thing. And I was like, oh, this guy's gonna.
He's a Jedi.
this guy means something.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's a Jedi. This guy knows. So anyway, he ended up convincing my parents to take me to the hospital. And by the time I got to the crisis response center, like I remember I thought I was gonna die. Like I thought like they would take me somewhere, they're gonna kill me for sure because I know all these things. And I remember the nurse was like, I was talking to the intake person, and the nurse was like writing things down. And I asked to see what she was writing down, and I remember, and I looked at the page, and like the words were literally like moving. And I was like, oh shit, I can't read. Yes, looks good. Here you go. Anyway, so went in there, and then I actually made the order for this, spent about 20 grand on the first order of 86 apparel. I was in the hospital for about a month, and about 3 weeks in, they let me like go on like a 2-day pass. So they let me go home. And that's when I actually put the order in for the clothes, and I was like so pumped about it. I really thought that this was gonna
take off.
Yeah. So this was my first business.
It's not a bad thing. So how many have you sold?
None. I gave it all away.
Oh, I was gonna say I'll buy one.
I think I got I think the first order was $17,000, and it was a bunch of hoodies, a bunch of shirts. There was some yoga pants in there, and then a few other things. And then I was just kind of like, I was so embarrassed about the whole thing.
You shouldn't be.
That I didn't really want to sell any of it.
I actually think it's a good idea.
Well, it might come back.
That's what I mean. Like, I don't think it's a bad idea. Like, it could be like the silver lining in this horrible situation. But at the same time, like, you got the care you needed.
Yeah.
And you're on the right track now. I mean, like, everyone's got those ebbs and flows, and you're just lucky you met your Obi-Wan.
Definitely.
Who recognized himself in you and could get you the help you needed.
Yeah, he was.
And your parents were supportive.
He was huge, and everybody was supportive. And that's the nice thing. Like, there's a lot more to the story where like I blew up on all my friends, and like I just had all these like.
You weren't stable.
I wasn't, no. But I didn't. Luckily enough, I didn't lose any friends.
Because they know you weren't stable. Like they know like, Dino, and that wasn't Dino.
Yeah, like that just didn't make sense. And then throughout the whole thing, like the part of the reason why I'm doing this is because the thing that pissed me off the most, it wasn't that my life went to shit and that I spent all this money and came all debt and depression, like that like whatever, shit happens, like worse things have happened to people,
Totally.
But what pissed me off was that I had this condition that's pretty common. It's about 1 in 100, same as celiac disease. Bipolar disorder is as prevalent as celiac disease.
I believe it.
And in my opinion, it's way more destructive. Like celiac sucks. I have celiac as well.
But you can control what you put in your body. You can't necessarily control what your mind is doing.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so just stop eating wheat, Whereas this is just as common, and yet it took months of me like imploding for somebody, and luckily it was somebody that had the same thing to be like, hey, you should go do this.
You are manic, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing that like once I got better, that's the thing that really stuck with me. And I was thinking like, well, if this is this common, either people are suffering through it and not talking about it, that, and also people, like, how do people not know how to, I'm not expecting everybody to be a doctor or a psychologist.
No,
You
but
know?
there are signs, and there are clearly things that are not normal.
Yeah, and like, how is it that, like, I consider myself to have, smart friends and family, and this isn't a knock on anybody.
No, but you alienated them before they could probably see the signs, right? You probably exploded on them before they were like, oh, Dino's not mad for any reason. Dino's like a little off right now.
Yeah.
They probably were like, he got mad for whatever reason and didn't realize that it was a bigger issue.
Yeah.
Because you were already distanced.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Maybe, I don't know.
But there was them. But even like the people in the workplace, I worked in a bar.
Yeah, that's...
You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people just assume drugs.
I was just going to say, is it because the drug culture is so prevalent?
Yeah, they go, okay, well, he must just
Sorry.
be... Yeah, but it's like anyway, all I'm getting at is what's...
There should have been so many people who caught it before it got to that stage.
Somebody. And if not for me, then for other people. Like
Totally.
Because now, like, obviously after going through it, just like the neighbor, I would spot it like this.
Totally.
Or at least, again, not that I would diagnose it, but I'd be like, hey, like,
you're
falling into the same patterns that I noticed with,
Yeah.
And that I guess that's what I'm, and not just for this, but for any kind of mental health problem. Like, I feel like, if you came and you said, oh, I have I hurt my ankle, anybody that, like, literally any person would have some kind of...
You'd be like, go to the sports clinic. Wrap it up. Keep the weight off. Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
These invisible ailments, right?
Yeah, and I'd like to see and I think there's a growing number of people that would like to see something similar for mental health.
Well, I think it's changing.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
I think it's getting better, and I think it's not as taboo as it was.
No.
And I think more people are comfortable coming out and talking, but I think a little bit of education, prevention, things like that would go a long way.
Even just as simple as recognize the signs.
Yeah. Because even now, after having gone through this stuff, I recognize the signs in myself, and I know what I need to do to make sure that this doesn't happen. And I've been fine I had that first episode, then I got depressed for 9 months, then I had another episode, but after that, I've been
you found
fine.
your level.
Yeah, you just find your level, and you kind of like, and I know what the consequences are of that happening again, so I just...
And the stakes are higher now. You got a kid,
yeah, that's
right?
the thing. Yeah, I can't afford to...
Like,
trying to, back then take a couple months off, whatever, but now it would just be disastrous. And that's the sad thing. When this happens to older people, they tend to lose everything.
Right, because there's so much more at stake.
Yeah, this hits you.
At 24, you can rebuild.
You got time. You
still have parents that can help you.
Yeah.
You still have friends.
Yeah.
As much as you've alienated them, it's not the common.
No.
Yeah, when you're older, it's like, who's going to pick you up?
That's the thing.
Unless you have a tight community.
Yeah, like I've heard of this happening to people in their 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
And it's like at that point, like marriage gone, house gone, everybody gone.
And then we probably see high instances of suicide.
That's the thing. Yeah.
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 That's scary.
It is.
I'm so glad that you got the help you needed.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was great. And you know what? At the time, I actually didn't know about the Mood Disorders Association.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Maybe somebody could have mentioned it. I don't know, but I had.
That's the difference, I think, though.
Yeah.
I think people know that there are resources, but what are these resources? They just know there's resources.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Point me.
Yeah. Well, I knew that there was like a crisis line that I could call.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, well, I'm suicidal. I don't exactly want somebody talking me out of this.
Well, exactly.
That's the thing, right? But I think again, had I known that there was a support group of people just like me, because one thing I liked about the hospital actually was that I made friends in there because there were people with the same things in the same stages, and we could relate, and we actually kind of had a great time some days, But once you're out of there, and then you're back kind of like around, I almost said normal people, but like
people who are just not relating to you or making the effort.
Healthy people.
Yeah.
Healthy people.
Or they just overlook this thing now that you look normal.
Yeah, but like had I known that there was like a bipolar support group that I could go to, I probably would have, because like it took a lot of energy for me to do anything because I was still like, very embarrassed and like ashamed and stuff. But had I known that, I could just go, listen to 5 other people talk about their stuff and not have to say anything, like
exactly,
that would have been, I would have done that. And my parents would have taken me.
Yeah.
But
you didn't know.
I didn't know, and I didn't have the energy to seek it out either.
Yeah, so that maybe that's the change we need to make. Just make all these things like hyper available.
Yeah.
So at the top of anyone's head who doesn't even suffer, they know. Faces and Mood Disorders and Sarah Riel and all the places that are doing all of these things.
Yeah, yeah.
That it's just available.
And that's the thing. It's I think you nailed it, because it's one thing when they, of course, they advertise themselves.
Totally.
Right. But then it's just it's almost like kind of how we do in BNI. Like you almost need like the referral. You need somebody to say, hey, you should go to there.
Or let's just talk about this all the time. So even if you don't, or you're not admitting that you need it, you just know. Like, oh, this thing in the back of my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's crazy. Like, my back starts to hurt, I go see my chiropractor.
Totally.
I don't even think about it. I don't even make an appointment. I just show up. But that's besides the point. But yeah, like, it'd be cool if it was that accessible. And there's no reason why it shouldn't be. Especially since...
Well, once the stigma's lifted, there's no reason that it shouldn't be.
Yeah. Wow.
You're on the other side, and now you know to watch for it, and you can be that mentor, for lack of a better word, to other people.
I feel like, they just shut it out and never think about it and just... carry on.
But I mean, we're like inherently pack animals. Like we live in villages. It takes a village.
Yeah.
We're just too siloed. Where I'm like, had you been in a community that you hadn't alienated yourself from, and just continued to be with them, like someone would have had to do something because they couldn't just allow. Like I bet you had distanced yourself from your parents, who would have been able to tell in a second. You know,
Well, I lived alone at the time.
Exactly. Just stuff like that. Where I'm like. Yeah, back in the day, they probably would have noticed right away that something was off with no resources.
Day one, day one, whatever. Day two, still. Day three, like...
Go to sleep, Dino.
Go to sleep.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. But it's been good. It's been good. And one thing I found was, as much as, like, obviously there still is somewhat of a stigma, I never really felt it.
No, because you're just willing to be like, no, this is me, and this is all the parts of me. This is how I became this way. This is what I overcame, and you can too.
Yeah.
And even if you don't admit you have this thing, like, no.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't
watch me,
you might, and I'll tell you, like, it's not fun.
No.
Well, the problem actually is like on the way up, it kind of is fun.
All the energy and bright ideas and having the money to back those ideas.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Everything was like just hyper enabled, and
but the good thing is, like, you didn't find drugs in that time. You went to business, not drugs.
I wasn't even drinking.
Exactly. No, at least you didn't hook on a substance.
And that's the other thing that pissed me off, was I was the healthiest ever. I've never had I been that healthy, and I have not been that healthy physically. Yes, but I wasn't drinking. I was in great shape. I was doing everything right. And that also kind of made it hard for me to realize that there was a problem. I thought my body was rewarding me. Okay,
but wait, imagine if you hadn't been exercising, if you hadn't been eating well, don't you think that this would have all gone like way down, like a way slipperier slope?
I don't know, because they like when it comes to mania, like exercise can trigger it and feed it.
Really? Yeah. I just feel like if you are depressed. Like, did you try everything, including exercise? You know,
but when you were at the manic. No, I didn't do anything.
That's what I mean. Like, in the manic stage, maybe you're right. I don't know. Yeah, exercising would probably trigger it, but in the depressive state, exercise might help.
It would have, and I handled depression as poorly as I possibly could have. I slept 12 hours a day, and I would go to the store and I would buy little chocolates. And I would eat chocolates, and I would watch people play video games until it was time to take my meds and go to sleep. And then I would do that again, and then I would just like feel sorry for myself. Like I'll do that thing where like I wake up and it's like I don't want to wake up yet, so I would just like keep my eyes closed and I just like replay everything. And yeah, I did that for a few months. Yikes. So I sucked at depression. You
rocked at depression. You aced depression.
If I ever get depressed again, I'll definitely
exercise.
Yeah, I'll just do better. There's so many things that can be done. But again, I just
it's hard to know, but now you know. Now you've seen it.
It'd be a lot easier now.
I mean, I got no answers, man. It's just Yeah. Thanks for sharing your story with me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for listening and being on here. And Celia, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you again for donating, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me. See you next time. Bye.